Hi, friends. So, there's a lot of very real and very concerning developments that have come to my attention here in Texas about the war on farmers. Now, we can read what the plans are of the global elite that want to control us all, through their 2030 plan and the all of the World Economic Forum's nonsense. But it really touches home a lot more whenever you hear stories from people that you know in the farming and ranching industry that are talking about things that are being done kind of behind the scenes. And I want to share one of those things right now. A good friend of mine who is here in Seguin, the McDonald's, we go over there, we help them, they help us. We're friends and neighbors. And the owner of the ranch, Luke, he was working on a for a long time on a operation that breeds deer, right? And they're at, about 2 years ago there were around 330 deer breeders in Texas, and he's recently had to leave that job because of things that are being done within that industry to those deer ranchers. And what's been going on over the past couple years is the government has started imposing various measures to limit their ability to operate, and they're using an excuse of surprise, a disease in deer. And so they have been imposing these restrictions on what these ranchers can do. For instance, they have limited the number of head. They have demanded that a licensed veterinarian apply these vaccines. They have demanded that every single deer that's slaughtered is tested with a $3,000 test. If a deer needs to be killed, then they have to hire a mandated individual to come out, pay $5,000 to have them slaughtered, and then they go into a kind of a quarantine. And now they are required by law to monitor or to record every single movement on the land from pen to pen, pasture to pasture, and they are required to input that information into an online database. And then it morphed into requiring permission from the government in order to move deer from one paddock to another or one pen to another. And you have to wait for the confirmation from the government portal in order to do that. And they are making it incredibly difficult for these operators to manage and to even sustain their operations. Furthermore, whenever whenever there is one of those a case of that deer, I forget the disease, but whenever there is a case, they do contact tracing similar to what happened during the pandemic. And any producer that has had any interaction whatsoever with the producer that had the infected deer, they they automatically go into a quarantine. And um, so they're making it impossible for these guys to operate, and they're making it unprofitable. And so these deer ranchers are needing to get out of their operations. However, whenever there is a contact trace back, and it's such a small industry that everybody knows everybody. So if there's one case in Texas, it's likely that everybody is in some way traced back. And so if they want to sell their farm or the ranch, they cannot the buyer cannot do livestock. They cannot utilize that land for the same practices that it was built for and developed for, and for a period of 20 years. And so it essentially they are cutting off the ability of these ranchers to utilize that kind of industry on their land, and effectively they are gutting any kind of potential for sale. And that moratorium, that quarantine, will last for 20 years. So what they're doing is they're pushing these farmers out of business, these ranchers out of business, and then they are making it impossible for anyone to come in on that land and do the same thing. And so now nobody's going to want to buy that land, and so they're going to have to sell it for pennies on the dollar to the only people that will buy it, which is going to be either corporations or the government. And this is actually a pilot project that is going on amongst the deer breeders. The government knows that they can't get away with this on a large scale immediately, and they have to test their systems out. So they're testing it out on this smaller industry so that they can then scale it up to the cattle industry. And what we see going on and what they speak about openly is that they want to destroy farming in America. They want to make us all slaves. You know, they want to take away our ability to produce for ourselves. They want to take away our sovereignty, and they want us to become beholden to the government. And this is really, really concerning. I mean, with all the things that we're learning about the gut microbiome and the importance of what we eat and the way that our food is produced, you know, if we allow this to continue, by 2030, you know, we're going to be living in a kind of soil and green, sterile society that has no life, and is just a society of death. And so we have to stand up against this. We have to figure out ways to challenge the government on this. We have to figure out ways to come together, most importantly, to fight this. Because if we don't, before we know it, our ability to produce and to be self-sufficient is going to be taken away from us. And with the younger generations the way that they are, nobody wants to work, nobody wants to manage land, nobody wants to become a steward. You know, you can see where this is going. It's the stuff that stories have been made for, you know, 1984, Brave New World. You know, we see the potential future that is before us, and the artists created that, and now the people in power are kind of using those stories as their playbook. And so we have to figure out a way to begin crafting a new narrative. You know, we need to find a way to begin writing new stories. And the Shiloh Project is one way, you know, that I believe I can contribute to that creation of a new paradigm. And it's a long time coming, and there's a lot of intricacies because you want to do it right. You know, this is going to be something that receives a lot of blowback. There's going to be a lot of enemies, you know, going to be called all sorts of names, but I don't care. You know, this is our children's future at stake, you know. And the more and more I see the news that's not on the news, the more concerned I get about you know, the way, the direction that this country is going in. You know, I know that God's plan is right, and it will manifest, you know, eventually. But the only problem, the only question is, will we hasten that final redemption, or will we just kind of sit silently and allow things to pass on God's time? And I think we need to take action, and we need to take action now. So anyway, hope you guys have a good one. I'm out to start putting up fence. I'm going to bring cattle out here. I don't care that the land's out for sale. You know, I'm going to claim it, and then let God take care of the rest. Take care.